Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David,
And my name is James.
and this is where we talk about all things Star Wars.
What?
And of course, this day is the day after the 3 episode premiere of Andor, and I think it was showered with a lot of great reviews and a lot of surprising reactions to what we actually got from Disney Plus this go around. So, yeah, I definitely want to talk about Andor and kind of what you thought you were going to get as opposed to what we actually got. So, James,
Before we go
what
on,
do you think?
I have to call out this comment right here. The return of the bearded one. Yes. well, David also has a beard. Like David has
Kind of.
has a good beard going on there. Sorry. But yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Live, hello, welcome, and Twitter, welcome. And okay, so the question was, what was my reaction to Ant? Is that what you're like? What was my like? What was I
Yeah,
expecting?
yeah. When you saw the first 3 episodes, which
Mhm.
we've already done commentaries on the first two, just haven't loaded it up on Patreon quite yet. But what did you think as opposed to what you thought you were going to get? Because a lot of reviews, a lot of social media stuff dropped that, okay, well, this is our non-spoiler stuff. And of course, we saw the trailer and we heard all these reports that it was different, dark, gritty, grounded, all the above. So, what was your kind of just reaction to what you saw on the show?
I was, from what we had heard, it was going to be new. It was going to be something new, something we hadn't seen before, but within Star Wars. And I feel like we got that 100%. I feel like the moment it starts, you joked around on the Patreon commentary yesterday, and you're like Los Angeles 2019. You got to begin the opening shot. It looks very Blade Runner esque, and the feel of it is completely different from Mando, from Book of Boba Fett, even from Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I was just really happy that they went the way they did with this show, because this, if you're gonna do something different with Star Wars, if you're gonna do something different with the lore of Star Wars, this is the perfect opportunity to do it, and I feel like they nailed it. From its opening scene with the dialogue, the dialogue feels new, feels fresh, and everything about it, I was immediately engrossed. Like, I was immediately invested into the story, and I'm pretty happy with what's going on, with what's happening here. Oh, I think we have there he is,
Yeah,
Hello
joining
there.
us is General Kenobi.
General
Perfect
Kenobi.
timing.
Hello there,
So yeah,
James.
if
How's it
you
going?
good. If you follow Countdown City Geekcast, I was on the podcast the last go round when we did an Andor reaction. I was just asking James about what his reaction was, and we have General Kenobi here. What was your reaction for our audience? What did you think of Andor?
Sure. So, uh, I think I was more on the camp of waiting. I wanted something different. Let's put it that way, right? Going into it, Rogue One was to me was something different in the movies, right? And so I kind of wanted to follow that mentality going into Andor, and I enjoyed it a lot because I think that helped me a little bit. Yes, it is absolutely a slow burn. All right, you know, no ifs or buts about that. But I feel like in this particular show, that's a plus, right? That's almost a must if I'm being honest. So I've enjoyed it. I think they're doing the groundwork. They're doing the setup, and they're doing it right too. So I have liked it. I do agree with the fact that I don't know if I would have been so positive if we would have gotten them individual episodes, right? One
Mm.
of those a week apart is what I'm trying to say, right? I don't know that I would have been so happy seeing just episode one and then waiting 1 week for episode two and then another week for episode three, right? So I feel that that was by design, right? That they let us have, those first three at the first go, um, because I think they sort of saw, that coming. If we give people these two the first two slow episodes, right, we're gonna lose a bunch of people that will just not come back for the third episode, right, when things start kind of bubbling up. So overall, I like it. I think they're doing a good job with the world building and the character setup. And again, we have plenty of episodes left, so the action is coming for sure. I don't really have a doubt about that.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that we got 3 episodes up front for the September release, as opposed to, I believe, the August release, which was going to be only 2 episodes. So it's kind of interesting in hindsight that they changed up their strategy in a way. But I think we're all in total agreement that the way to go was dropping the 3 episodes, because otherwise we wouldn't have that kind of little arc there that they made when Andor was a kid to growing into what it became, and the ending where he leaves with Luth and Rail. So yeah, I think that was a fantastic strategy. The only real gripe, and I kind of echo everything James and you said about the show. The only gripe I have is the fact that they're a little too short. Each episode is about 30 minutes long. And in this kind of landscape we have right now with all these streaming shows, with Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, they're all about an hour long.
Right. And yeah, exactly. And then, like to your point, like things, shows like those are pretty expensive, right? I mean, both of those, you can tell they spent some money, definitely, right? Rings of Power looks amazing, looks just incredible, looks gorgeous. So I'm not saying that Andor doesn't look great. Andor looks really good for what it is, right? Mm-hmm. But we still haven't seen, the big, capital ships. We still haven't seen, space battles. We still haven't seen the real expensive stuff that we know Star Wars can do. So maybe that's to come for the last 4 episodes in a row, and that's where all the money went, right? So, but I don't see why we couldn't have longer episodes, like for example on this one's, right? When we're world building, we're basically in the same settings, right? Planet wise and even location wise. So why couldn't we get 1 and 2 rolled into one, right? Hour long episode or hour and change, and that would have felt a little bit more of a setup that way. But I agree.
I still think Disney is worried. I don't know why they're worried, but it just seems like they're nervous to release an episode that long. Going from Mando, Book of Boba Fett, even Obi-Wan Kenobi, there were some episodes where they ended and you're just kind of like, that's it. And even with She-Hulk right now, She-Hulk is really bad about, like, I think it was like a 24 minute episode for She-Hulk, and I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
But I agree that you need to be longer, but at the same time, I'm happy all 3 episodes are released at the same time. Like, I'm just gonna say, because they're all 3 released at the same time, I can forgive them for it. But going forward, I'm hoping we get some longer episodes. So I'm anxious to see the runtime on episode 4. Hopefully, it's like 55 minutes long. And we went. David and I watched it last night. We watched the first 2 episodes again. And it's interesting to watch it again because there's so much happening. There's a lot going on. A lot of these scenes are not throwaway scenes. A lot of them are building up. And like we joked around on one of the scenes where Bix shows up to Tim's house, and we're like, that's a good situation for any guy. Like you ask any guy, like that is just one of the things. Like, oh, any guy would be like, this is the best night of my life. But then you realize why that scene is there. It's not there just to be like, oh, look at her, No, it's for us to realize she really likes Tim. Tim never had anything to worry about. Tim messed up, and I was like, that's crazy that you're able to get all that from that scene. Like it makes sense. And there's other scenes like that throughout the first 3 episodes where you're like, this is all really important. There's no throwaway. There's not a single throwaway scene or line. And mind you, it's all world building right now, right? Mind you, we're just getting a lot of the basics down. And if you go back, and we always refer to Michael Clayton because that was Tony Gilroy's directorial debut, and he wrote the script, and I think he was even nominated for an Oscar for that script. And that movie, Michael Clayton, is a slow burn. A lot of people are like, when it first came out, they didn't understand what was so special about it. But then it's one of those when you go back and you watch it and you realize that each scene in that movie is leading to the climax of it, and it's like, this is awesome. And so I went into Andor with that in mind. I'm like, okay, I want to see Michael Clayton, but Andor, and I think he's killing it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's really
and I know to your point, I know episode 4 I think is gonna set the trend, going forward, right? Hopefully we get a longer episode. This is our first standalone, right? Single release. It's also gonna be, is that enough to hook people? Because this is going to be the real test, right? Can one episode still hold people for another week so they come back, right, for episode 5? And the one thing, to your point about world building, one thing keep seeing about a complaint is saying, oh, this is already like out of canon, because in Rogue One, Cassian says, I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. He's like, he's way older than 6 years by the time we see him in the flashbacks. Like that does not mean that is the beginning, right, of his story. Like, there's no adults, with this bunch of kids, right?
Yeah, David and I were just talking about that last night. We were like, wait a second. And we realized there's a lot more going on.
Yeah, exactly, right? So that's not to say that he's already been affected a couple of years back from where we started that flashback, right? Maybe his parents got taken away. Maybe, they died saving them, like putting all the kids into escape pods for, whatever ship got shut down. That's how they ended up stranded. I don't know. There's a lot going on there. Like you said, that it doesn't happen, without a plan.
Yes.
So I think there's, they wouldn't have just, oh man, I missed that part where he's supposed to be 6 years old when we start the story, right? I don't think that's what's going on here.
I mean, just like everybody thought Leia, the whole Leia and Obi-Wan Kenobi thing didn't make sense. They were like, okay, well, in New Hope, it doesn't make sense that she did. I was like, it still makes sense. Like it didn't. It never was a question for me, in my opinion. But yeah, it's funny. David and I were like, wait a minute, how old is he? And I think even David was like, he could be 6. He's a little bit shorter than the others.
Right.
He still could be 6 years old. I mean, that's, but who knows? We still don't know what's going to happen with that. But I don't think they blatantly disregarded the canon that they created themselves.
Exactly. That's my point, right? I mean, they at least I want to hope that they know what they're doing. I think they do. And like I said, and to your point again, I don't think it's, there's no throwaway line or scene, right? Yeah. So I think it's all part of the plan.
Yeah, in Mob Rules on YouTube, he put in an interesting comment that kind of ties into what we're kind of talking about, in that right now, Game of Thrones House of the Dragon has an after show, and so does Rings of Power. They have like a little after show after every episode, and they kind of break down kind of what you watch, because there's a lot of stuff going on. And I kind of wish we had something like that. Maybe they could have addressed the age of Casta on that planet, and we could finally kind of have a finite, concrete answer on that, because the famous line is, he's been in the fight since he's 6 years old.
Right.
But okay, so does that apply to him living on that particular planet? And his parents were murdered, maybe they were minors, and then he was fighting the Empire, like technically, since he was 6, because he does look older. He has an older looking face.
Yeah.
But that one scene where all the kids jump over that log with ease, and then he has to sit on it to get over it. And then you kind of like look at it from a distance and compare his height to the other kids. He is far smaller, but
agreed. Yeah. And I mean, even the other kids, right? I'm assuming, right? We don't know, but I'm assuming they couldn't be older than 15, right? Let's say. So, if that, I mean, the main the main young girl who's in charge looks like she's like 12 or 13. Yeah. So, I call her female Rufio. That's what I'm calling
her. Someone else actually said that.
Oh, really?
It was on the podcast or what? But I heard someone else say that.
Yeah.
Or was it on the podcast we did together?
I think so.
Okay.
That might have been me. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really funny. So another thing David and I brought up, I know go on Patreon, we talk about a lot of stuff, but David was like, okay, so was his name Casa? Is his name actually Casa, but it is but somehow it got misheard and now it's Cassian.
Right.
And so that's going to be an interesting moment where we realize maybe since the show isn't called Cassian Andor, it's just called Andor because his first name is not Cassian. You know, it could be his name could legitimately be Casa. And,
right.
Oh my God, sorry, my dog just scared me to death. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So I thought that was really that's an interesting thing, and it's just this mystery to it. And like there's a lot happening, and there's we need. There's a lot more we're going to be learning.
Yes,
somebody said a nice thing for us right here. Who needs after shows when we got you guys?
Oh, appreciate it.
That's very sweet. We think.
Yeah, it's Robert Montano from Late to the Party. Yeah.
Oh well, thank you very much for
appreciate
saying that. Oh yeah, then like Liam said, I hope we see Coruscant early in the season. I have a feeling Coruscant may pop up in the next episode because I think we're gonna. What, David? I saw you just kind of go like. I don't think so.
Well, I was just thinking, I mean, because General Kenobi said, when are we going to see like the grander stuff? I think once we get to Coruscant, we're going to see a lot of money on the screen. And we saw a lot of previews of that in the trailers with the elevators going up and down and the Senate scene, the Senate chamber. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The Senate, that's going to be pretty interesting to see. Because I don't think that we've seen the Senate
since episode 3.
Empire, in Empire era.
Oh, that's right.
We saw it a little bit in animated. I think I remember Rebels, a couple scenes, right, but nothing, too in depth. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting, to see what the Senate looks like now. But yeah, I agree. I think for episode 4, we're probably gonna be seeing a lot more of. I'm assuming Luthen's, a little bit of his backstory. A little bit more of who he is, and who he hangs out with, obviously. And so that's going to be, again, world building, but on the other side, right, of the politician, of the recruiter, of who's trying to actually start this official rebellion.
So yeah, speaking of the Senate, is there a chance we might see a particular senator, maybe a Gungan?
I was going to say, I think I'm excited for that.
Is he still a senator, or did he get?
I don't think so, but
he was. If I remember correctly, he got exiled to one of the moons of Naboo.
Yeah, he's now he's like a street performer, which is really depressing. Really depressing.
Right, no, I agree.
But you're right though, David. That would be something very, very nuts if we did see.
Oh, yeah.
If we did see. Okay, Liam asked a very important question. Do we get to see ET? Like ET may still be in the Senate. Yelling vote now.
Very much so.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just threw that little Easter egg in there.
Yeah.
But no, I think with the flashbacks that we're going to be getting from Stellan Skarsgard's character, I'm pretty sure we're going to go to the Senate. I'm pretty sure we're going to go and see a little bit of his stuff in the next episode. And I don't think it's going to be a lot. I think it might be like kind of what Cassian's flashbacks were, where you're kind of building up to the climax of the thing of what the flashback is. But all in all, I think it's great. I think this is something Star Wars needed. I think this was something fresh that Star Wars needed to have, and I'm glad we're getting it.
Yeah, for sure. And I forgot to say it, but spoilers for Andor, by the way.
Oh yeah, jeez. Oh, sorry.
If you're watching us, you've seen Andor, so it shouldn't be that big a deal.
So he's gonna die on a beach. So just
well, not spoilers for Rogue One yet.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
It's too soon.
I didn't know that we were covering like it's an umbrella, all spoilers. So I want
right.
So yeah, General Kenobi, I want to ask you, what do you think of Cassian Andor's sister? Who do you think she is? Where do you think she is? What are your ideas for that?
So I feel that that she's still alive, first of all, because there's that doubt, right? Did she even make it out of the planet before whatever cataclysm, or biohazard event happened, right, on the planet? I think so. I think she is alive. I'm kind of two camps. One, he already met her, right? He doesn't even realize it. That's one, way that I'm leaning. But the other one is she's gonna be an Imperial, right? And not just like a traffic, officer in the Empire. Like she's probably gonna be, one of the investigators that's tracking down like the rebel cells. She's gonna be maybe not an inquisitor. I mean, I don't know if she will be force sensitive, which is still a possibility, of course. Possibility is not zero. Uh, but I think she would be sort of involved in maybe the ISB, the Special Bureau, something that's sort of directly, opposite of the rebel activities, right?
Yes.
Not like I said, not just like a politician, not just like uh, like a supply, officer that handles like supply and chain commands and things like that. Like I feel that she will be like in direct opposition of the rebellion somehow, in some capacity. So those are my two, main camps. What I've heard is somebody say she was right there in the brothel episode 1. Where the girl that she does talk to, that Cassian Sari does talk to right at the beginning, that was her, right?
Wow.
So like I said, there's some stuff out there, some pretty wild theories, of course, but we will absolutely see her, and I don't know that she will stay alive for the whole, show.
Yeah,
I'm leaning towards no. But yeah, I think I'm leaning more towards her being a Empire ranking officer theory.
What about you, David?
I kind of thought that initially as well, but after kind of really sitting with it, and I don't think Tony Gilroy would write the story that way, because I think that's too much of an easy play, and I feel like his writing capability, I think he might be able to give us something a little different. But that is interesting what you say about the woman in the brothel.
Right.
That would be a twist. I hadn't heard that one yet. And of course, we don't see a lot of these characters move on into other series or films. So is it going to be like Rogue One? Is everyone basically going to die?
Right.
Aside from the people that survive and make it to the film. So yeah, those are kind of interesting things to think about. Also, the big thing is K2SO. When does he come into the series? Does he come into season 1, maybe towards the end? He's got to be there by season 2, and we got to kind of see that whole meeting. But the other big question is, how does B2 Emo factor in? Is maybe B2 Emo going to meet up with K2SO when we kind of have like that pairing of like a 3PO and R2 at some point?
Right.
Or is B2 Emo, in fact, K2SO already, just in a different form? That's also another possibility. There's one line that he says that's almost exactly what K2SO says in Rogue One. And some of his cadence as well when he speaks is a lot like K2SO. So I don't know.
I think one of our listeners, I think they cracked the code. Just got to put that here.
There you go.
That's it. It's over. Mystery.
That's it. Yeah. Now that is some good writing right there.
Andor's sister is Akmina, B. Arthur's character from the holiday special. So she's got to go live on, and she's got to end up owning a cantina, and she's got to have a great singing voice. It's interesting though, the woman at the brothel being his sister already, is one of those things that I could see actually happening, is because he tells her, she leaves, then she comes back and she's like, I don't know who you are, because she hasn't seen him in years either. Like the last time she sees him is there when he leaves, so she doesn't know who he is. But then the moment he's like, I'm looking for my sister, there's a moment where she pauses, and then she's like, she's gone. Like, it's like, okay, who? And then plus we don't get to see the moment where when she walked in to like see him, like remember in the when he's got to get identified, we don't get to see that interaction. So I don't know. It seems like a really cool twist they could do, but at the same time, her being in the Empire, although David says is kind of like the easy way out, is the one that kind of makes sense to me. Her being directly, like you said, opposed to the rebellion, and her being directly across from Andor, would be kind of where I'm leaning more towards. But we just got to wait and see. And I'm pretty sure whatever it is, it's going to be an awesome reveal. It's going to be a great twist. And yeah, I don't think she's going to live. I think, like David said, I don't think a lot of these people are going to live. I think
Agree.
a lot of them are going to die. It's going to be really depressing, but got to tell the story. So
Yeah. Do we know Luthen is a senator, right?
former senator, or is he still a senator?
I don't know. Do we
I've
know
actually
what
been
system?
reading a lot of interesting things lately that Luthen may be not as good as many people think. So he might be kind of like a gray guy more than I'm for the rebellion or anything else. He might just
Even like are you talking almost like a DJ character?
not as I want to say not as DJ's character was very kind of like, I'm just doing it for the money. I think Luthen Rail has more ethics, more morality behind his actions. But it's an interesting thing to see Stellan Skarsgard play this character, because we've always it seems like we've always seen him play either 100% good or 100% evil. But I mean, he's really killing this role. I mean, I was astounded with the preview we got before Rogue One in IMAX. That was terrific. Seeing it again, I mean, he's killing it. I mean, he really brought it. Him and Fiona Shaw, I thought, were the real big standouts.
Yeah.
But everyone in the show is just awesome. A lot of unknowns, really. They're really kind of making their name. The other thing I really wanted to bring up was the fact and all the volume talk. So I think at the beginning of the show, we all kind of knew that the volume wasn't a factor in the show at all whatsoever. And there were reports that came out later on that some of the VFX artists were getting kind of mad because the volume was used a little bit on the show. So Andor was shot during the pandemic, and it was shot primarily overseas in the UK. And they built something like a 7 to 8 block film set for the actors to be in, live in. They could go anywhere, move anywhere, be recorded. And Tony Gilroy actually spoke about why he didn't use the volume as opposed to maybe using it. And I think also, I'll probably add to this, is the fact that the volume is being heavily used by other stuff, as well as Marvel stuff and who knows what else. But yeah, I was going to read a little bit of this article that he kind of talks about volume usage. So Tony Gilroy says, in a perfect world, we'd be able to shoot location and shoot old school. And then we'd use the volume when we want to use it. There are times when the volume would be really good for us, but the technology doesn't exist to do both. You have to make a choice at this point because of the workflow on the volume. All your post-production has to be done beforehand. You have to shoot all of your plates. Everything has to be done. When you go in the volume, everything's done. You're just adding the actors. So essentially, he wanted to work the opposite way, because we've all kind of seen the behind-the-scenes stuff. They add the backgrounds in the volume, which cover the ceiling and the background, and they just shoot. If it's on Tatooine, they just pour sand on the ground, add a bantha, sand people, and then you have the horizon in the back. And
a back to tank.
And see, with this setup, they really couldn't do it. And of course, Tony Gilroy wanted to direct the first 3 episodes, but he was stuck in the States due to the pandemic. So luckily, they got Toby Haynes to direct the first 3 episodes, which are great. And Toby Haynes is one of the best TV directors going right now. So that actually kind of worked for the show to get him. So do you? So what are your thoughts on the volume? Is it something that you think? Does it bother you at all, kind of knowing like The Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, when you watch it, they're in the volume and you can kind of see like the seams and the edges a little bit? I mean, do you prefer that? Are you okay with that? Or would you rather them shoot on location?
I think, well, first of all, I like the technology. I love that they can render, real time, uh, depending on the camera angle, depending on the position of the actors. I think that's super cool. If it's another tool, right? Why not use it? Oh, definitely. Now, would I say shoot every single thing for TV 100%, every single shot in the volume? Probably not. Probably not yet, at least, right? I think we're still, like Tony, said in the article, we're still a few years away from being able to have a real, I guess comparable to location, right? Rendering, the technology for the cameras, the technology for the projectors, really is what the volume is all about. But I think the other side of the coin, whether we like it or not, is the pandemic. Changed a lot of things, right? So it changed the dynamic of the world, right, overall, and we all know that. But talking specifically about filmmaking, if you can have a more controlled environment and still get, I don't know, 85% of the shots that you need, right? In a manner that would looks, let's say, 90% as good as the real location, why not, right? I mean, it just kind of makes sense. You get all your actors, you get all your people, in one spot. You shoot, like I said, most of the scenes, and they're pretty much done, right? I think that's why they really like it, because the VFX stuff is, I think, like 90-95% just there in the shot already, right? By the time they stop filming. Of course, post processing and some of the colors and some of the, of course, audio effects and things like that. But the grand majority of what they needed that extra time for is already there, once you shoot it. So I'm sure those guys on a TV schedule, they like that, right? They're like, boom, I can get this episode done in half the time, or maybe even less. I don't know. But again, I think right now nothing will be actual location, right? I mean, I think it still looks great. Open fields is still open fields, right? Andor, we've seen some of those shots that look just gorgeous on it, and like you said, that it's all location based. So I think right now a balance between the two is probably where I'm at. Enjoying for these shows, The Mandalorian. I love the way it looks, and I know that did use sets, of course, but not many. So I think the volume is an incredible tool. I think it's only gonna keep growing. It's only gonna keep being more used. Like you said, other shows are gonna use it, and therefore, hopefully, soon we'll get to the point where we won't even be able to tell, right? If it's location or virtual projection.
James, what do you think about the volume as opposed to shooting on location?
I agree with everything he just said. Nah, I think back to this shot in Andor during the showdown at episode 3 when they're on the roof and the speeder comes out, and it's a wide, beautiful shot of the explosion, of the reaction, and like just you could tell that's there. You could tell. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's visual effects there to enhance the background to kind of push it back further, but a lot of that is a wide shot, and you get that angle, and it looks beautiful. You couldn't do that in the volume. You could not do that at all in the volume. But one thing you can do in the volume is those nighttime magic hour shots. You look at Mando. There's a few shots of there that you're like, that's just beautiful. And because you can put the sun where you want it, and it stays there. It's not going to go anywhere. Another example, I know it's not Star Wars, but the Batman, they did that really, really well with their sunset shots in that movie, and the sunrise shots in the movie. So yeah, I think a good blend. I think the volume is a tool. I think it's like visual effects. You use it to enhance the story. I don't think they should rely 100% on it like Mando's doing, and like I said, Mando's looking great. But you can tell there's some moments in Mando that you can tell it's very small. You can see that it's kind of, they can only move just this far before they're gonna hit the wall, and I can see where Tony Gilroy's coming from, which is the freedom to kind of just shoot what you want to film and not have to be on the day of, because that's the one thing that sucks is when you're on day of and you're filming something and you want to try something new. You can't if you're on the volume, because you'd have to go and render a lot of stuff. You have to call your editor in there so he can cut it, so you know where to put the camera and what's going to look good. Whereas when you're on set and you're actually, at a location, you can do whatever you want. You can have a lot of fun with it. So, yeah, a good mixture of both is what I think is necessary. And yeah, I think, like I said, it's a good tool.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you guys said. One thing that's kind of interesting, though, is the fact that The Mandalorian used the volume extensively,
Mhm.
and so did Obi-Wan Kenobi. But it feels like Obi-Wan Kenobi was a whole lot smaller than what The Mandalorian gave us for some reason or another. I don't know if it was like the handheld nature or the quality of the film we saw, but for some reason it almost feels like those are two separate kind of volumes in a way. And I know after the fact, after people were calling out what was shot in the volume and what wasn't, I mean, then for me personally, I could kind of see, okay, well, I'm kind of focusing more on the background and kind of looking for it as opposed to when I guess Kenobi had that kind of deficit of us knowing that this thing was shot primarily in the volume. So using it as a tool, I think, is the best way to go. And I think it was really kind of a perfect storm with the pandemic and the fact that they're going to shoot at Leavesden Studios and how Tony Gilroy chose not to shoot in the volume. That freed up other productions and it freed up the fact that we're getting this amazing show now. So sticking with Tony Gilroy, he has announced to the Wrap that he is going to be shooting this November for the second season of Andor. And he told the Wrap, we are going to start shooting part 2 November. And I don't know if our past pattern was 2 years, but I mean, I'll be on, well, we'll shoot from November to August, and then our post-production last time was about a year. So basically, he's saying that we're going to get Andor Season 2 in 2024 at some point, which...
Did he say November to August?
That's what this article says, but...
What?
Wow. Wow.
That's not even a a feature is 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it says November to August.
Okay.
Wow.
But we all know he has a plan. He has the beginning, middle, and ending for this, and it almost feels like the Lucasfilm is maybe kind of thinking, well, maybe we should have made this into like a movie or a trilogy or something. And they're putting a lot of money and a lot of thought behind it. And I think they have supreme trust in Tony Gilroy. And he's delivered on the first 3 episodes. I mean, critically, audience-wise, the last time I checked, it had 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's something different. It's something fresh. And I think a lot of people are coming around on it. And I think we all agree that it's probably not meant for 12-year-olds. But I mean, this feels like a proper evolution of what Star Wars should be.
Agreed.
For 45 years later, you know?
Yep.
So here's my thought process is they're shooting movies. I think some of these episodes in season 2 are gonna be an hour and a half long. Like there's no doubt about that. Because if they're August, November to August for a 12 episode TV show is massive. Like I don't even think Game of Thrones principal photography went that long for their final season. So it's just very weird. I think they're planning something huge with that second season. I think we're gonna be getting feature length episodes there at the end. I think Stranger Things kind of told everybody, and House of the Dragon and Rings of Power, hey, people are gonna watch it. If it's good, they will sit for an hour and over to watch an episode.
Exactly.
So that's bizarre.
Yeah.
I can't get over that it's gonna be that long. Sorry, this is crazy.
Well, I mean, we know season 2 is gonna cover 4 years of the story.
Yeah.
So I mean, sounds like a lot of locations. If what I heard, what about the breakdown of 3 episodes per year type of thing. But even then, that's still a long time. I mean, that is still what, 8 months, something like that.
Yeah.
7 months. Yeah.
But
Yikes.
man, but that means we're expecting the goods. You know what I mean? Like we're expecting some
Yeah.
good stuff with that. Like oh man.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about it already, but Tony Gilroy has said he's gonna do more than Andor, right? Like he's gonna write more for Star Wars. Is that correct?
Well, we talked about him. There was a Fandom Wire reports stating that he was going to get a first look deal from Lucasfilm, and then I think Kyle from the last podcast said that was walked back, so that's really not official.
Oh, okay.
But of course, we've seen stuff like that before, like Rian Johnson getting the trilogy, and then Taika getting a movie, and that whole thing. Maybe they should not do that anymore.
I don't think they should announce
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, because we had too many situations like that. Like Benioff and Weiss disappeared. I mean, Lord and Miller. I mean, they shot an entire film and then they disappeared.
And then now Patty Jenkins.
No, Patty
Jenkins. Yep. So many I've forgotten. So
Josh Trank.
Yeah, Josh Trank.
And the one thing that I a lot of people forget is the day Solo came out, James Mangold was on for a Boba Fett movie.
Yeah.
Like that was the Hollywood Reporter. I remember before we saw Solo, the Hollywood Reporter released that article. And then a couple of days later, it was gone. It was over. But hey, James Mangold's doing Indiana Jones 5, so it's all good. But yeah, I agree with David. Disney should stop announcing this stuff and wait for it to happen and then be like, oh, by the way, this is who's gonna. But I think with Star Wars, it's such a big deal. I know we talked about it last week, but it's such a big deal. You cannot not hype it up with who's attached to it. It's impossible not to say this is what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I guess it's difficult for them because we just want to know. We just want to know what the next project is and who's behind it. So we'll see.
Yeah. So what do these two guys have in common here? It's a picture of John Williams and Bob Iger.
Ooh, I know. Am I allowed to say it or no? We're gonna wait. We'll wait.
Sure, go for it.
According to you, they. Oh man, I lost the notes. Go ahead and tell everybody.
So apparently, before the Queen of England passed away, she actually gave honorary knighthoods to John Williams and Bob Iger.
Whoa!
Which
nice.
I didn't know even existed. I know you can't properly be a Knight of England because you have to be born in the UK to be actually knighted. But yeah, that's kind of an incredible thing. Like right before she passed, she granted them honorary knighthoods. And we've talked about it in the past. It's who are the GOATs you've seen in person, the greatest of all time in any field. And I think it's unanimous that John Williams is the greatest film composer of all time. And Bob Iger, I haven't seen him in person. I think James, you've seen him in person, right?
I spoke to him. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll never forget that day. That was a great feeling. Yeah, he was. I guess you want me to tell the story or no? Do you want me?
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, it was just he was. I was working at Galaxy's Edge, and there was a shoot going on up near Docking Bay 7, and I was like, oh, they're filming something up there. That's pretty cool. And then this entourage of people comes out, and I'm looking, and I'm like, that's Bob Iger. Like Bob Iger is right there in the middle of all these people, and he goes up there and he's standing up there, and I'm on the wall below him. And I looked over and I was like, I want to say something. And my friend was like, well, if he looks over here, you should wave. And I was like, okay. So I'm standing there and I look over. He looked over. I waved. He waves back. And I said, how are you? He's like, I'm fine. How are you? I was like, I'm good. He was good. That was it. I was like, oh my God, Bob Iger spoke to me. It was a great. And what he did for Disney in those years that he was CEO is insane. Like if you really think about what he did, and it was like, you know, he got Star Wars, he got the Marvel Universe completed. He saw all the way from Iron Man to Endgame. I mean, this guy was he was awesome for Disney. So, but yeah, so now he is a what's the official title?
An honorary knight
Honorary knight
of the
from the
Queen's
Queen,
Guard.
from the Queen herself. She did that. That is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean Bob Iger. I mean that dude brought Disney to where it essentially is, and he kind of kept it there. I mean, he had the foresight with the streaming service, with Disney Plus. He was at the top. He was basically the CEO, and he helped with the purchase of Marvel. And there was a lot of people thinking, okay, well, that's going to be the downfall of Marvel. He left them alone. Same thing with Lucasfilm. He essentially left them alone once George Lucas brought in Kathleen Kennedy as a president. He pretty much left that alone. And I mean, they've just been making so much money and huge success at the box office, huge success at the parks. They opened Galaxy's Edge. The acquisition of Pixar is on his watch as well. And he's also married to the great Willow Bay as well. So, I mean, just incredible people. I mean, John Williams. I mean,
Yeah, he's the best.
you really can't say enough. I mean, he's. I don't think we'll ever see anyone like him. I mean, to go from what he did with Steven Spielberg with Jaws. I mean, Jaws of all movies to kind of start off with, and then being recruited by George Lucas to do Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and then pretty much everything after that was Star Wars as well. And then saying that he was only going to do The Force Awakens and quit, but then he came back for The Last Jedi, and then he said, no, I'm going to come back for The Rise of Skywalker, and then I'm going to do Obi-Wan's theme, and then I'm going to fly across the country from Anaheim to Orlando in 2017 for Star Wars Celebration and show up unannounced and just play live in front of us, and then to show up in Anaheim too to play Indy's theme, I believe, and Obi-Wan's theme.
And but he has said Indiana Jones 5 is that's it. He's going to retire after Indiana Jones 5, and that's crazy. I mean, the iconic film scores like he has done. It's just it's insane. It's insane how many of those scores he did and how many of them we remember. And how old is John Williams? He's in his early 90s.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, he's up there, man. But I mean, he's still going strong. He's still playing concerts at the Hollywood Bowl. I see people post about it all the time, and they have lightsabers for sale there, like little toy lightsabers, and they're like waving them around when he's playing the stuff. And he's an incredible person. I mean, he deserves to be knighted.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's definitely
absolutely.
one of the people that kind of deserve it.
And I love what George Lucas says is he's the secret sauce to Star Wars. And, you know, I'm not going to lie, if that music had not been as great, I honestly don't think Star Wars would be what it is without that music. I mean, I know that's a bold statement, but I
don't think it is. I don't think it's accurate.
Okay. But that opening fanfare, I mean, that just sets the tone for it. And then it just doesn't stop after that. It's
exactly
beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, when you think about the greatest films of all time, you look at the score, and the score is fantastic. It's beyond usually all the great stuff like Howard Shore with The Lord of the Rings. I mean, look at Nicholas Britell right now with Andor.
Mm-hmm.
It's top notch. I think one of the best scores aside from The Mandalorian, aside from Ludwig's creation. That theme. I mean, he's doing some interesting things, and he's composing brand new intro music for each episode of Andor, which is another kind of crazy kind of feat.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So, but yeah, jumping from one icon to another, and we're gonna do a little bit of icon jumping here. So, it was reported that another person is, I guess, sadly but rightfully, I think, retiring. In James Earl Jones, he says that he is going to retire his voice for the voice of Darth Vader. And with this new technology, Respeecher, I don't think anyone kind of questioned the original Darth Vader voice being given to Hayden Christensen in the role of Darth Vader in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And there's an article here from Yahoo that states, James Earl Jones, one of the most distinctive voices in the history of film, appears to have made steps to step back from the voicing of the Star Wars character Darth Vader after nearly 40 years in the role. Vanity Fair reports that the actor, age 91, has signed over the rights to his voice to filmmakers using new AI technology. Matthew Wood of Lucasfilm told the magazine that the actor wished to keep Vader alive.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Because they could have easily brought in another. I mean, they could have brought in somebody else, but we all would have been able to tell it's not James Earl Jones. And many great actors have done the voice of Darth Vader, and they're great, but you can tell it is not James Earl Jones' voice. And so that's really, it's huge. It's sad, but at the same time, 91 years old, that's a hell of a career. And he just opened up a theater in New York on Broadway.
I believe it was a renaming of a theater.
It's the, I guess it's called the James Theater.
The James Earl Jones Theater. Yeah.
James Earl Jones Theater. And so I thought I read that and I was like, man, that's the passing, like end of an age, really. Like that's crazy. But you watch Obi-Wan Kenobi, you can't even tell like that's a digital AI technology doing the voice for it. I think that's something else. And 91, yeah, it's a good time. It's a good life right there. I mean, are you sad, David? Or are you?
I mean, we all get older, of course, and I think it's awesome that he signed the rights away. And I mean, reading that article, it made me think about his scene in Big Bang Theory where he's sitting across the table from the main character in that show, and he's just like smiling at him, and he's like, James Earl Jones is coming off as like an old like curmudgeon guy, and then they smile, and he's like, I love Star Wars too, and it's like, oh man, that's so awesome to hear him say that. And I mean, he's one of those actors, one of those people that are involved in Star Wars that gets it and gets the whole fan relationship with Star Wars. And he made that cameo, and him signing over the rights, that just tells you that, I mean, he knows that Star Wars and Darth Vader is something really special. And to have the exact same voice brought back to life via AI and done as well as he possibly can, because it's like indiscernible from his original voice from the 70s, 80s, I mean, it's an incredible thing that technology, it took technology a long time to be able to replicate James Earl Jones's voice as Darth Vader, but they did it. And there's another story connected to that and I'll put the link in the show notes. And I know we talked about the story several podcasts ago, but it seems like it's really caught on with a lot of outlets and stuff since James Earl Jones did this announcement. But their re-speecher technology, it's a group based out of the Ukraine. So when they were doing the re-speecher tech for the voice, and they were sending over the files of Matthew Wood, that was during the time that Russia was invading Ukraine. So they were doing it in a war, essentially, and doing the work and sending it over to Lucasfilm, which is
That's it's crazy to say that, because I was taking an Avid media composer class, and my instructor was like, "Oh yeah, they're based out of Ukraine, so everything is kind of on hold for like updates and software updates and everything." So yeah, it's kind of makes sense that they would also have probably not the same place, but around there. Yeah, this AI technology. What's it called again? The re-speecher. That's man.
Well, I'm just glad he signed off, the rights in life, right? Because think about it. What if, again, he's an older gentleman, so what would have happened if he was all of a sudden gone and those rights would have been in limbo for a while? They couldn't use them. Maybe his family didn't want them to, that kind of stuff happens all the time. So to your point, he gets it, right? He knows that this will live on. He knows that the character, is something special. So I think it's really cool that he, willingly said, hey, here you go, guys. I won't be able to do it, but that doesn't mean nobody should be able to do it. So I think that's really cool of him.
And one thing I also is, like you said, he gets it, is he also understood David Prowse's role as Darth Vader.
Right.
And what David Prowse did. And he even said in interviews, James Earl Jones said, I am a special effect to Darth Vader. He's like, David Prowse does all the work. He goes, I'm just adding just the voice to what David Prowse is doing on set. And I thought that was also really cool that he even acknowledged that David Prowse was Darth Vader, and that David Prowse did all the work, and that he just comes in later and just does the voice. And I was like, that's cool that he's not like, I'm Darth Vader. You know what I mean? Like I thought that was really cool too. And then they also Disney just announced they're going to be doing a Mufasa prequel.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if also that has something to do with this as well. Like he signed over the rights. Like, did he sign over his entire voice completely to Disney, the rights to his voice? So they might be using that for Mufasa as well. So
true.
That's interesting. I don't think anyone's brought that up though, but yeah, that could be the case.
Yeah.
But I like what Liam McCallion says here. I hope this means we still see a lot of Vader in the future.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to speak a Vader Disney Plus series into existence here. And I would love to see Hayden come back and play a Vader during the Order 66 aftermath era and hunting down maybe other Jedi that we don't know about, and just kind of bring that all back and shoot on location more so than the volume.
Yeah.
But
I think for all the hate or all the doubts that the Disney Plus shows have been getting, right, whether you like them or not, I don't think I've heard anyone say they did Vader wrong. I think everyone's been pretty happy with what we've gotten of Vader, right? Starting in Rogue One, definitely, right, all the way to that Kenobi, show, where they're kind of finally giving us the Vader we knew was there, but we never actually saw it, right? Like, in live action. So now, I think that for all the flaws that the shows have, I think they've done Vader right. I think they've given the fans what we wanted to see from Vader. So
I agree 100% with that.
Yeah.
And one thing I always had a problem with Revenge of the Sith was that Vader has a cape right away. Like I was always just like really, he had a cape?
Yeah.
Like Palpatine was like, put a cape on him.
Oh yeah,
he will look great. I like every time I see that scene, I'm always like, it kind of makes me cringe. I'm like damn, if only he would have walked out with just like the under, like that that kind of the under robe he has. I would have been perfectly happy with that if that was his first introduction in Revenge of the Sith. And I think that would have made a lot more sense, in my opinion, if we saw Vader like that. And then in the shows, we see him like that, and then we see him finally get the cape, and then he has the cape, and now he's even more sinister. But that's my little 2 cents there about Darth Vader.
That's a good point, though. Yeah.
Did you guys see the Ghost in Andor episode 2? I saw a ship that looked. Oops, sorry, David. We clicked on that at the same time. I saw a ship that looked just like the Ghost in Andor episode 2, and I joked with David, and we said, yeah. Throughout the whole couple episodes, we were like DiCaprio in that meme where he's like, oh, like look. That was one of those we paused it and we were like, oh, look, there's the looks like the Ghost there. I mean, we don't know. It could be a ship that looks like it, or I mean, we have to do the research if we'll inherit.
Yeah, it's probably not the Ghost because Rebels is happening almost simultaneously as Andor and Rogue One.
I thought it was a pretty good nod.
But yeah, it was next to Ochi's ship as well from The Rise of Skywalker, The Force Awakens. There was a Y-wing there. There was like another Corellian class model ship there as well.
There's something that looks almost like a snow speeder from Empire Strikes Back. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. Like it's one of those where you have to pause it and zoom in to be like, okay, what else is this thing?
Yeah, I heard someone else also say that they thought they saw Asajj Ventress's ship that she uses as well.
Oh really?
Nice.
Yeah.
Need a Vader petition. Yeah, we need. Yeah, just start telling everyone.
Yeah, I've been saying it. I'm trying to speak it into existence here. Like I said, I wanted the dark, gritty Star Wars, and we got that. So jumping from one icon to another, it is Mark Hamill's birthday today.
What?
So yes.
I'm so glad they took that picture. That makes me happy.
Agreed.
But see, this picture made me think he was going to be like her Yoda. And I'm like, yes, I'm here for it. But, yeah, that didn't happen.
Yeah, you know who else's birthday today? Donald Glover's birthday is today as well.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, Mark Hamill
That's
and Donald
awesome.
Glover share a birthday. A
Very
couple years
nice.
apart from each other, but it's still that's pretty great too. So happy birthday to two icons in Star Wars.
Absolutely. Yeah. Happy birthday.
We talk about it
Yeah.
all the time, and we need Donald Glover back as Lando. I mean, that's gold for Disney right there. Like that's money. That just saying that is money, and it's surprising they haven't done it yet. But then again, Glover is like insanely busy, so it's understandable they haven't done it yet. But still,
Is that Lando show still, or show or movie? Sorry, I forget. Is that? Do we know anything moving forward with that, or?
No, we don't. It's kind of a kind of peculiar thing because they're. I mean, they made the announcement on that investor call where they announced
Right.
all those shows.
There you go.
They have the logo, yeah, for sure. But every time I think Donald Glover is asked about it, he never gives like a resolute answer. He kind of gives something kind of vague. But
Right.
I know he signed a big deal with Amazon to do programming for them. And of course, the show Atlanta is coming to an end, which is a Hulu show, which is owned predominantly by Disney.
Right.
I think Peacock or NBC is trying to buy out Hulu. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, happy birthday to those guys. I mean, Mark Hamill. I mean, Luke Skywalker for me, that's my favorite character of all time. I don't think I'll ever get over his portrayal of Luke. I've seen those movies so many times as a kid, and I always wondered, it's like, what happened to Mark Hamill? Why isn't he doing more stuff? He was the Joker in Batman. I was watching Batman the whole time, and I never knew that he was the voice of the Joker. And of course, he's done voices for video games. He was the trickster for Flash, and then he's now doing more video games and more kind of guest spots on different shows. I think What We Do in the Shadows, he was a vampire there. He didn't go to Celebration because he was working. So
I know.
He's doing a lot of stuff. Yeah,
I was banking on meeting him there because I've never met him in person. So, and I told my wife, I was like, I think you and my girl is gonna be there, right? And I was hoping for Hayden to be, in the pictures and the autographs too. He was there, but just he didn't do any autographs or any pictures. Yeah. And I told her, I was like, I'm gonna spend a lot of money because if Mark Hamill announces, I don't care what it costs. I need to take a picture with him and get his autograph. Like that is just a given. And so I kept holding off. I didn't buy anybody except for Ewan. I bought his autograph, and I kept holding off till the last day. And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's it. No one else." And then sure enough, Mark Hamill posted. He's like, "Oh, sorry guys, like I won't be able to make it." I was like, "Dang it, they already sold out the ones I wanted." So no, he's amazing. I mean, I hope next celebration. Well, I don't think I'll go to London, but the next celebration in the States, I'll get to meet him because that's one from the original cast, one of the few remaining. So yeah.
And it's crazy to watch him in The Last Jedi because he gives a great performance. I mean,
I think it's a performance of his life.
Yes, and it's
he brought it.
And we were like, and I remember like one of the first conversations you and I ever had, David, was like, where has he been? Why didn't he get more huge roles in his career? Because there's that close up of him in The Last Jedi where he's like, and I will not be the last Jedi. And the camera's like right there. You see the tears in his eyes, the emotion. I was like, dude, this guy is acting his, what off. Like this guy is killing it right now. And it's crazy that he didn't have the career like say Harrison Ford did. And it's just kind of a sad thing because he has some good acting chops on him. And
absolutely.
And man, but I'm glad we got what we did get,
Yeah,
with him in Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm glad that he was with us to be in the sequel trilogy and maybe to do other things as well as being in advising and being on set for The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. So, yeah. So happy birthday to those guys. That's pretty much all I got for the news. Of course, Andor episode 4 is going to drop Wednesday in the wee hours of the morning. They really need to change that. They need to do what Amazon is doing with the Rings of Power, because they'll drop that like at 10 o'clock at night, and then I can watch Thursday Night Football on Amazon, and then just click on over to Rings of Power, then watch that, and I have my whole Thursday set.
There you go, set up. Yeah. So,
Well, that's why you got to move to California like me. I can watch that at 11:50, and it's pretty good here. But yeah, episode 4, I'm excited. I am all in. I cannot wait to see what they're gonna do with episode 4 of and this, and like you said earlier, this is like the Empire Strikes Back of Andor, because as it drops at 8 a.m. here. Oh, geez, that's right. Yeah. Well, hey, you just gotta wake up extra early.
Right.
But episode 4, like, this has to keep everybody interested. Like, you already did a pretty good introduction. This is like the Empire Strikes Back, where we all have to be interested to keep moving on to the rest of the season. So,
Yep.
I think it's gonna deliver. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I'm sure, like you said, they're gonna save some awesome shots. Hopefully Coruscant, we're gonna get to see the Senate. All of that stuff. I'm in for, because again, we haven't seen it in this period, right? And technically, we haven't seen them, like you said, since 2005. Revenge of the Sith. So it's definitely been a while. So it'll be nice to go back to that. But yes, I think it's gonna be a true test of can the one episode hold I guess the interest of the people enough for them to keep coming back, because this is going to be like I said, I think it's going to be like a stepping stone to the rest of the season. But I think I don't really see them not performing well.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be really great.
Yeah. And if you're super curious and you can't wait till Wednesday, a lot of the media got the first 4 episodes to view, and a lot of them did comment and tweet and make social media posts about what we're going to see in episode 4, which seems logical. But there are some pictures floating around too for certain things that tie into Easter eggs and fan service, kind of, even though Tony Gilroy wanted to stay away from that. But yeah, it's
they snuck some stuff.
I'm liking it so far. It's a nice blend. It's a nice balance between the Star Wars universe and something new, something that I've been wanting. So, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, Mob Rule says the Cowboys don't play tonight. House of the Dragon instead.
There you go.
Fair enough.
Yeah, this week will be great for me, because it's House of the Dragon tonight, and then the Cowboys play Monday, and then
Andor.
Tuesday I'll just not go to sleep and watch Andor, and then Thursday is She-Hulk, and then Friday is Rings of Power.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great week.
It's gonna happen Thursday technically, because it's a whole thing.
Is that the picture you put on Facebook, David, of the mask?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so if you go to our Facebook group, you can see the picture that I'm kind of referencing in Luthen Rails.
It is a crazy picture, though. It's like anyways. All right, I guess yeah.
So yeah, a lot of these people that are commenting here are actually huge supporters of the podcast. They're patrons. And I just want to shout out some of these people. On the purple tier, we have Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel. And on the red tier, we have Fenrir526, Matt Heath, Maya Morris. And on the black tier, we have Maka Tawatala, Nathan Shank, Evan Opaker, and Liam Callion, who's here in the chat here. So thank you so much for your awesome support.
Yeah,
awesome.
What time is it over there, Liam?
Well, he said at 8, so
if you carry the 2.
It's late. It's late. He's still awake right now.
Yeah.
I would be a patron for him.
So yeah, Pizza Kid always comes in clutch. So
yeah, thank you very much. But yeah, check us out on Instagram. Currently 12:40. Yeah, see, I was gonna say it's pretty late over there right now. Oof. But yeah, check us out on Instagram at Star Stuff Podcast, Facebook. We got a Facebook group as well as a Facebook page. You can check us out there, Facebook stuff, and as well as TikTok. And wherever you listen to us, be sure to give us a 5-star review, or just give us a thumbs up wherever it is you're listening. And if you want to write a review on Apple Podcasts, please do so. That really does help us out and helps us get noticed a little bit more. And also, if you want to join our Patreon, be sure to look us up on Patreon. We're going to have all those in the show notes right there. And David does his best to get an episode out pretty much every night, and I do my best to join him. And we had fun last night. We were watching Andor together, and that was pretty good. I was drinking just a little bit, and that's the type of stuff you see on Patreon.
And yeah, definitely thank you to our special co-host today, General Kenobi.
Yes, thank you so much for joining.
And he's about to let us know where we can find him.
Sure. No, first of all, thank you guys for inviting me. I really, really appreciate it. David, it was awesome meeting you on the Geek City Cast. James, pressure. Guys, so the channel is called General Kenobi's Bunker. We talk about Star Wars, definitely, but we also do toy hunts. We do toy reviews. Mostly Star Wars, as you can probably, deduce from the background.
You do toy reviews? Is that?
No.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Shocking, right? Who'd have thought? Yeah. Crazy guy like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so, so check us out, General Kenobi's Bunker here on YouTube. Same thing on TikTok and Instagram. So I greatly appreciate it if you guys could swing by, check it out, share it with people you think might enjoy it. And I'm trying now to do more live, more on a regular schedule, I should say. So Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central, we are doing The High Ground. That's what the live show is called. So if you would check it out, I'd greatly appreciate it. Guys, I would love to have you sometime. I know you guys are super busy, but, maybe we can work something out later down the road.
Yeah.
And again, I just wanted to say again, thank you so much for having me. This was super fun.
Yeah, no problem. And it's General Kenobi's Bunker on YouTube and Instagram, right?
That's correct. Yeah, and
TikTok.
And TikTok. Yeah. I'm trying to get better at TikTok. I think I'm just too old, to be honest, to do TikTok. I can't figure it out.
I don't know enough dances to do as well.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what's going on. Like, there's so many
But there is
options.
video of James dancing out there.
There is a video out there of me doing like a bantha. So.
Oh, there you go. No, that's it. That's my homework for tonight. Gotta find that.
Anyway.
So yeah, for James, General Kenobi, my name is David, and may the Force be with you.
Always.